Hello and welcome to the Elsie Smith Show. Our topic for today is Dandelion and Daisy, how a medical herbalist can help you. And my lovely guest is Janine Gerhardt. Janine is a full-time practicing medical herbalist since 2008 when she graduated with an honours science degree in herbal medicine from the University of Westminster. She's a member of the National Institute of Medical Herbalists, and she divides her time between consulting with clients, making herbal medicines and creams and teas and capsules, running workshops and herb and foraging walks. Janine, welcome to the show.
Hello, hi, thank you for having me today.
How did you become a medical herbalist? What was that defining or decisive moment for you when you made the decision?
Yes, that's a very good question. It happened a long time ago. I was studying to become a photographer initially, and the old photography, so the darkroom work, etc. It all turned digital, and I thought, I'm not a technical person. I don't like sitting in front of screens. I have itchy feet. And then I guess the decisive moment was one day when you pour the chemicals down the drain. So the fixative, the developer, etc. And I just thought, I don't want to do that. Even though I love photography and the art involved with it, I don't want to use chemicals and pour them down the drain. It just wasn't right. And there I thought, is this really what I want to keep doing? And I wasn't quite sure at this stage where it's going to lead to. But yeah, I've always, I'm grown up in the countryside and I've always loved nature, and I thought I'd rather do something that's beneficial for the planet and for people. So there was only one option, and that was herbal medicine for me.
What is herbal medicine?
Yes, it's a very short question with a very long answer attached. I'll try and be concise. It's basically natural medicine. It can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. We are medical herbalists, are working complementary with conventional medicine. So you can go and see your GP as well as us. Or we work alternative to, you can have a choice. You can either see a conventional practitioner, a general practitioner, your GP, or us. The difference is that my personal opinion, and I think it is also a general opinion, that of course GPs diagnose, we diagnose, but for instance, if someone comes to see us with a headache, we don't just give them painkillers or anti-inflammatories. And we try and find out the cause of the problem, which a GP would as well to some extent. But we go a little bit further because we look at the whole person. We look as to associated factors, food, emotional status, lifestyle, work, all sorts, as well as there's such a huge interaction between everything. If you come and see us with a headache, the origin might be somewhere completely different, and it might be multifactorial. So herbal medicine essentially often makes people stronger. That's the aim of it afterwards. So whenever you finish a treatment program, you come out educated. We always strive to educate our patients. We never just say, take that and you'll be fine. We explain why, what's going on, which is often why it takes a long time that we spend with our clients. But yes, it's much more comprehensive.
And what are the benefits of using herbal medicine?
Well, I personally believe that they are much safer because we use a whole plant extract. For instance, white willow bark. Salicylic acid is extracted from white willow bark in conventional medicine, and it is basically an aspirin. But in herbal medicine, we use the whole plant extract of the white willow bark, and it's a huge amalgamation of different phytochemicals working together, which makes it much safer to use rather than just one constituent. So when you see a medical herbalist, it is a very safe medical approach, yet also very effective. And of course, it depends. We use different herbs that we mix together. We have primary and secondary actions from these plants, and it's knowing the plants and knowing the chemicals, knowing the person we're dealing with, that sort of leads to the effect of the person becoming stronger. So we address the symptoms, symptom relief, but our main concern really is to address the cause of the problem and make the person all the stronger for it.
And you use these plants, the plant extract, you don't add any chemicals?
No, we try and give the plants as close as nature grew them. So for example, we use teas, which is just the dried plants in themselves. We often do give people tinctures, which are a water and alcohol extract. The reason for that is that when you say you make a tea, you extract the water-soluble constituents from that particular plant or plants. And when you have a tincture, you extract the water and the alcohol-soluble constituents. And that could create a very different effect. So often tinctures are much more comprehensive. They are quite strong in their effect. So dosage-wise, you don't often take much of a tincture, whereas a tea you can drink more freely. But it again depends what it is we're trying to achieve in what person. Sometimes a tea is more indicative, and sometimes a tincture, sometimes it's powders, juices, and very often it's just food and lifestyle advice as well, which people often don't realize. People often think they just take something and they get better. Very often our clients actually have to incorporate a few changes, and we always work with them in that field too.
It sounds really simple, and it sounds really easy to do these tinctures and plant extracts and stuff, and very healthy because you don't add chemicals. But it also sounds quite potent and quite powerful to me because you get the pure plant extract. Is there not a danger in doing this?
There's a danger in everything. We all mainly use plants that have a large therapeutic window. That means that to have an effect from the dosage, you need to have an effect to the dosage until you overdose or you have an ill effect is a huge difference. So with chamomile, for example, or any of those plants, you have to have, a bucketful before you feel ill. So those plants, we are also trained in Schedule 3 plants where the therapeutic window is very narrow. So we need to know what we're doing. But generally speaking, yes, everything is dosage related. We need to have an effect. We need to help people improve whatever it is they've come to see us with. Yet we also need to make sure it is safe. So we need to know exactly what we're doing. Even water, you can drink yourself to death by having too much water, and it dilutes the electrolytes. Everything is a poison in the wrong dosage. So we're, acutely trained in that field.
Why would anybody want to consult a medical herbalist? What is the typical things? What are the typical complaints that people approach you with?
Almost anything and everything. Over the last few years, I would think we are quite overrun by people who cannot sleep, who are anxious, who are worried. That's a very common trait at the moment. So that, again, is looking at what's going on with people, with their lives, how are they responding, what's their perspective on life, emotional status, social status. If we're dealing with people, if they are elderly or disabled or completely isolated, we always try and point them in the right direction. We support them with herbs, good nutrition, etc. So that's definitely one area. Immune system is a very obvious one. People always think, oh, I go and see a herbalist when I'm ill. But actually, it's herbal medicine. It's more like a lifestyle. It's like you wouldn't just eat good food when you're ill, which you try and keep yourself at your optimum whenever you can. Sorry, I'm veering off the subject here a little. But there is an obvious choice, hormonal balance. We have a lot of energy as well. People are exhausted. They're working too much. They're worrying too much. They don't have, enough proper healthy sleep. So we deal with all those aspects. If you can, anything really, but those would be the main reasons really over the last months that are predominant.
Would people come to you to help recover from, for example, injuries or surgery?
Yes, very much. Yes, they do. Yeah, you can see a herbalist for anything really, but it's all about being honest. We're not against conventional medicine, for example. It's just knowing what to do when. For instance, if someone comes and sees us with raving appendicitis, I'm not going to get the herb bottles out. I get my car keys and drive him or her to the hospital.
Indeed, common sense.
Yes, it's just knowing what would be best for that particular person at that time. And actually, most of our clients are on some form of conventional medication, and sometimes we just assist, or sometimes they're not. And so we're really seen for anything.
And if I go to you for a consultation, what would I expect? How would you manage that consultation?
Yes, it's very different and individual, but there is a common sort of blueprint that we start with. So we would definitely take a full case history. We would ask about your presenting complaint. We would go through your past medical history, food, lifestyle, anything from digestion, whether you're sleeping well, emotional status, anything associated. So, yes, also, it can take up to an hour easily. That's usually the average time that I spend with a new client. And
to get the background and the holistic picture of where they are in terms of lifestyle.
It's not wise up, it's we diagnose. Sometimes we're in touch with certain labs for diagnostic tests. Sometimes we need to rule out certain things or confirm them. You refer to other health professionals, etc. So we're not just standing on our own feet. There is a lot of referring going on, if relevant, etc. So it really depends on the person. But I think the most important point I would like to make is that we educate people, because it's not keeping tied to the herbalist. It's about making them better, explaining to them what has happened, why, what they can do to, get better. But by the time we discharge them, they are better. But then also what to do should the issue reoccur, or what to do to avoid it reoccurring. And very often, I think that's a very empowering thing, that you can do a lot of things to help yourself in life. And personally, I love that. That's my one thing that I love in herbal medicine, because you can actually make people feel good.
And let them see a crisis as a healthy turning point.
Yes, crisis is a language. It's the body screaming, something's gone wrong. Let's address this. Let's do that. Let's get it better. Pain or anything like that. It's just the language of the body. It's saying there is something not right. So it's just learning to listen and not to just suppress it, with pain medication, but actually to look at it and find out the underlying reasons.
So looking back at your practice and how it's grown in terms of the kind of complaints you've been dealing with, the people you've been seeing, what advice can you give in terms of lifestyle in general? What do you think really people need to focus on?
It's a very big question, and it's very difficult to give advice to everyone, because everyone is going to be in need of advice. But I think a very general advice that I seem to be giving a lot is for people to reduce their sugar content.
Oh, yes.
I find a lot of people, particularly the ones that really, shouldn't have sugar. Sugar is inflammatory in nature. It is not just hasn't that many nutrients, it actually eats our nutrients. It upsets our blood sugar levels. We have this spike and then this drop. And we're just overrun at the moment with people who are in the pre-diabetic state or diabetic. We've got metabolic syndrome. We've got energy problems. We've got people who are obese, but they are nutrient deficient. It's one of those areas where I really like working with people in that field, because I would never just say cut out all the sugar. That's not realistic. People will end up having a real crisis if they do that. But there are so many sugar alternatives where you actually don't feel you're missing out on something. But sugar is a big one, and it's a tricky one to reduce. And you don't have to cut it out completely. But that is the one thing I would say, probably reducing your sugar intake can make you feel so much better.
So if you say cut out sugar, do you mean go for sugar-free alternatives, which contains that horrible, what is that stuff that they put in? Oh, goodness. Aspartame?
Oh, no. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes, the aspartame is artificial sweetener, and I still can't believe that they're still allowed to sell it. It's actually a nerve toxin. So, and some people are very sensitive to it, and even if you're not, it certainly has an adverse effect on your system. No, I would stay away completely from sweeteners. There are different alternatives that you can use that taste sweet. People often say, "Oh, just use loads of honey," and I know honey is natural and has its own unique health benefits too, but it still raises your blood sugar levels like that. So in Waitrose they sell a syrup that's called Sweet Freedom, and that is derived from apples, and it actually keeps your blood sugar levels relatively level. So it releases the energy slowly in comparison to any other syrups or sugars, and it tastes wonderful. So if you're new to the idea of reducing sugar, Sweet Freedom from Waitrose is wonderful. The other sugar alternative would be xylitol, that's derived from the birch tree, and nothing else is added. It's full of minerals. So having a spoonful of that actually remineralizes our teeth rather than zapping our minerals as sugar does. So it's actually good to have a teaspoonful. And yes, those are just two examples that you could slowly incorporate into your diet instead. It has a unique taste. So if you're quite sort of picky with your taste, then Sweet Freedom is a good first choice. And then when you're used to that, then move on to xylitol. We'll have a bit of both. People have really good responses to those sugar alternatives.
And would stevia be a good alternative?
Yes, of course, as well. Stevia is just a plant that's just very naturally very sweet. Licorice too, which is a herb, but they do have to be careful. Don't take too much. It can have a laxative effect, just as xylitol if you have too much of it. So this licorice is not advised if you have high blood pressure.
So the biggest lifestyle change you would recommend is stay away from refined sugar.
Yes, I would say if that's an issue in your diet, and for most of my clients it is, not all of them, then to reduce your sugar intake is definitely beneficial on so many levels.
Now, if I want to change my lifestyle and I want to go for different plants, edible wild plants that I don't know about, where would I get information on that? What would you recommend?
Okay, information on wild plants. There are so many different sources. I run herb walks, as you know, so you can always find a local herbalist who does herb walks, for instance. You can find a lot of books out there. There's a plethora of books. Richard Maybe, he does very good books for beginners who are not that well equipped in knowledge as to what you can eat and what not. So he's quite well known, a well-known author, Richard Maybe. Some beautiful books he wrote, and they're not too expensive either. You can go online, and I subscribe to, it's called eatweeds.co.uk. That's always full of useful information. Or, equally, yes, identifying plants.
You said he has got a newsletter as well?
Yes, you can subscribe to that as I do, and it's always full of wonderful information.
Okay. So if I want to experiment with new and different plants, for me it's more being introduced to them in a way that is safe. For example, I recently discovered a plant called samphire. Absolutely delicious. I love it. So that's a new one for me. You also do foraging walks. What does that mean?
We go into the wild, and I will explain the local flora. I will usually explain, and we talk about medicinal plants that grow in abundance. So I will never see anything endangered. It's more about the hawthorns. We're looking at, blackberries that you can also use the leaves as well as the berries, and depending what season we're in. So it's just opening people's eyes to what there is all around us. And because we're looking at the common medicinal plants, and very often they're known as weeds, people just all of a sudden see them everywhere on their way to the supermarkets, growing out through the cracks in the sidewalks, and they're just everywhere. But if you don't know, you don't see. And once you are introduced to medicinal plants and how you can use them as food, as medicine, etc., and for general well-being, all of a sudden you see them everywhere. And it's like you're just surrounded by food and medicine wherever you go. We're just not taught anymore. It's one of those things. It's not part of the curriculum at the moment. And our parents haven't taught us anymore either. So it's almost forgotten. The beauty of that is that we go and we pick, and I explain to people how to forage in a sustainable, respectful manner, how to ensure you don't take away from the plant or the animal population or fellow foragers or people going on a walk. So it's very important to stick to a certain code. But yes, in West Molesey, where I'm based, my colleague and I, she's a nutritional therapist and I'm a medical herbalist, we run wild food adventures. So we go out and we talk about medicinal plants, and we pick some, take them back to her magic kitchen, and we make remedies for the afternoon, as well as some wonderful culinary delights. It's a lifestyle. You don't just take herbs. You can take herbs when you're ill, but equally, you can easily go out and pick something fresh every day.
Can you give me examples of plants that are not known for being edible?
Yes, well, it's very difficult because very often I'm surprised by what people know, and then I'm surprised by what people don't know. Um,
Mm.
I hope I'm not avoiding your question with that, but what I really love is when
Fine.
people, when we go out and we pick our own salad, and people are just amazed. You know, we go to the supermarket and we buy rocket leaves, for instance, and we spend
Yes,
a
I
lot of
do.
it, and it's lovely and it has quite a bitter sort of zingy taste to it, but it's been packaged for weeks or a week and in an atmosphere that's been altered, and by the time we eat it, I bet it's almost quite inert in its sort of nutritional value as well as its energetics. But when we go out into a back garden or in the fields, we see the dandelion leaves, and I assume most people know a dandelion leaf, but what always gets me is that people don't know that you can eat them. And they actually
Goodness, yeah.
they're bitter in taste, just like the rocket. They are full of nutrients. They are slightly diuretic, so you don't want to have a massive bowl or you just spend running the whole morning running to the loo for a week. But they are just so valuable in their nutritional status. They are soft, they're really lovely. So we have those dandelion leaves we can pick, and most people curse their dandelions in their back garden if they have one, because you just can't get rid of them. I mean, if you ever try to get rid of the dandelions, the taproot, the smallest piece that you leave behind will just result in a new plant growing. As you know, the seed heads go everywhere. It's impossible. So rather than cursing your weeds, it's welcoming them.
Eat them.
Take them, make our salad within 5 minutes, and it's fresh. It's not been pushed to grow. There are no fertilizers attached to it, nothing. So we've got the dandelion leaves, which are lovely. The hedgerows are full with wild mustard. Those yellow little flowers. They are. You need to know 100% what you're picking when you're picking it, because there are a lot of poisonous plants. But just to gently talk about it. So we have our salad leaves, we have our dandelion leaves, we have our mustard seeds. We can, depending on the seasons, pick the hawthorn leaves as well as salad leaves. They have a lovely nutty flavour. There is Jab by the hedge, which is wild garlic mustard. Grows everywhere. Once you're introduced to it, you will not see it anymore. It's just everywhere. It spreads. So it has it looks like a salad leaf and has a garlicky taste to it. So in a way, we've already almost got a whole salad ready, and whatever else will come along. And it's just wonderful. You can just go out, pick your own salad, and it's fresh, free, and local. So it's not flown in from other countries, and it's just the way the world has to go. We have to source locally.
If I want to learn to become a medical herbalist, how would I go about that?
Yes, if you wanted to become a medical herbalist, I would advise you to do a science degree in herbal medicine, where you learn everything. You learn everything from anatomy to physiology, pathophysiology, chemistry. You obviously learn about the phytotherapy, the plants. You incorporate 500 clinical hours. You're, after 3 years of full-time studying, you're assessed by an external assessor. You have a practical exam, and obviously, written exams as you go through the 3 years.
Yeah.
Yes, it is quite intense, but well worth it. There are, I think, 2 universities in the UK that offer a degree. That is Westminster and Lincoln. If you need information, you always get in touch with the National Institute of Medical Herbalists, and they are more than happy to help any queries from the general public.
There you go, National Institute of Medical Herbalists.
Perfect, yes.
And if people want to get hold of you, they can do that on your website, which is
rootsofnature.co.uk. Yeah, that's right.
the email address?
Perfect, yes.
Yeah. That's been really interesting, Janine. So thank you for your time and thank you for your input on this. I'm sure people will contact you to find out more about what you've been talking to. It's been lovely talking to you.
Well, it's been an honor to be asked. So thank you very much. And likewise,
Indeed.
any queries, let me know. If you want to show me a leaf, you can always send me a picture and I can say, yes, you can have that for your dinner or not.
Indeed. Oh, wow. That I'll take you up on that one. So thank you for listening. We will be back next week, Sunday, 4 o'clock at same place, same time, 4 o'clock UK time with another fascinating topic. Thank you and goodbye.